Hello boys, welcome back to another session of video tutorials, and in this session is meant for class 11th biology students, and this is for 4th January 2021. 4th January 2021. And in this session we are going to discuss about urine formation, because in our previous session we talked about the structure of nephron, and we have understood that the unit of excretion is nephron, and nephron has got different parts meant for performing particular functions. Hence, all those parts that are there, like glomerulus, Bowman's capsule, PCT, Henle's loop, DCT, and of course collecting duct. All this along with afferent and efferent areas will be helping the nephron to perform the function of excretion effectively. So in this, how exactly is urine formed? We are going to discuss about that today. So it includes glomerular filtration, reabsorption, that is tubular reabsorption, and of course tubular secretion. So three main steps will be there in urine formation. Now first one, under glomerular filtration, or this is also called, let me write, ultrafiltration. Ultrafiltration. Sometimes only small 3-mark question will be there. What is ultrafiltration? Explain that. So you need to explain only this glomerular filtration. So it occurs because the pressure of the blood flowing in the glomerular capillaries is higher than the pressure of the filtrate in Bowman's capsule. It does not require the expenditure of energy by kidney cells. The quantity of glomerular filtrate formed each minute in all the nephrons of both the kidneys is called the GFR. What is GFR? Glomerular filtration rate, GFR. And in the normal person, GFR is about 125 ml per minute. So this is the one, glomerular. So basically the 125 ml per minute should be upheld. The amount of filtrate formed by kidneys per minute is called GFR, glomerular filtration rate. Second, tubular reabsorption is the second process in the formation of urine from filtrate. As much as 99% of the material in the filtrate is reabsorbed. How much? 99% is reabsorbed, preventing the loss of water, nutrients, and ions from the body. As a consequence, urine contains mostly waste materials and excess water. About 65% of the glomerular filtrate is normally reabsorbed in the PCT, that is proximal convoluted tubule, before reaching the loop of Henle. So 65% is reabsorbed. And during reabsorption, of course, it helps a lot. Glucose, amino acids, vitamins, hormones, sodium, potassium, chlorides, phosphates, bicarbonates, much of water, and some urea from the filtrate is absorbed. Sulfates and creatinine are not reabsorbed. Sodium and potassium are reabsorbed by primary active transport. Glucose and amino acids are reabsorbed by secondary active transports. All these are very, very important. Sodium pump, potassium pump, which controls the heart functioning, they have to be reabsorbed. Low levels of sodium will almost take the person to death. Similarly, low levels of potassium or high levels also will make the person sick. Glucose, of course, is a must, otherwise, we will not get energy. We should not afford to lose much of the glucose. And amino acids are the building blocks of the proteins, so they have to be there. So, hence, they have to be reabsorbed. And of course, water is a must. Without water, tissues will become dry. So, water should be reabsorbed by osmosis. So, chloride ions, urea, and other solutes are reabsorbed by diffusion. The filtrate is isotonic to blood plasma. So, unless it becomes isotonic, the process will go on. And then in descending limb of loop of Henle, water is reabsorbed due to increasing osmolality of interstitial fluid. Sodium and other solutes are not reabsorbed here. The filtrate becomes hypertonic to blood plasma. Ascending limb of loop of Henle is impermeable to water, but very important, permeable to potassium, chloride and sodium ions, and partially permeable to urea, so that filtrate becomes hypotonic to blood plasma. That is, hypertonic becomes hypotonic. In the distal convoluted tubules, there is active reabsorption of sodium ions from the filtrate under the influence of aldosterone. So you must remember this aldosterone. And water is reabsorbed here under the influence of ADH. Again, very important one. Expansion you will be asking many times. Antidiuretic hormone. Remember? ADH. And this is secreted by posterior lobe of pituitary gland. This makes the filtrate isotonic. So thanks to ADH, isotonic to blood. So initially the filtrate will be hypertonic, then it becomes hypotonic, then it becomes isotonic. So this is a must. Unless it becomes isotonic, there won't be the reabsorption or elimination will not take place. In collecting duct, which is CD, further reabsorption of water takes place. Now the filtrate becomes hypertonic to blood plasma. Sodium is reabsorbed in the collecting duct under the influence of aldosterone. The filtrate is now called urine. Thus, urine is hypertonic to blood plasma. Hypertonic to blood plasma. And then tubular secretion refers to the addition of selected materials from the blood to the ultrafiltrate and thus increasing its volume. It occurs mainly by active transport. Active means spending energy. Materials are moved from one area to another by spending energy, then we say active. If ATPs are not spent, materials move from one area to another, then we say passive. Okay, and this active transport takes place in DCT as well as PCT. So this is how the urine will be formed. Now in a nutshell, the expulsion of urine from the urinary bladder is called micturition. Again, one more question. This is expulsion of urine from the urinary bladder. We have just now said how urine is formed in our body. Once urine is formed through the ureters, it comes down to urinary bladder and it gets stored there, I said. So that expulsion of urine from urinary bladder is called micturition, and it is a reflective reflex process. But in grown-up children and adults, it can be controlled voluntarily to some extent. You must have seen some of your friends doing bedwetting. So again, there is no control. So, and the reason for that is ADH, antidiuretic hormone connection. Okay, so the urologist will understand the problem, whether it is ADH problem or aldosterone problem or any muscular weakness. So based on that, a treatment will be given for that, right? So functions of tubules. PCT, all important nutrients, 70 to 80% electrolytes and water are reabsorbed in PCT. Henle's loop maintains high osmolarity of medullary interstitial fluid. And DCT, conditional reabsorption. This is very, very important. Conditional reabsorption of Na plus and water. Maintains pH and sodium-potassium balance. Very, very important. Thanks to DCT. Otherwise, our heart will become abnormal. Collecting duct, large amount of water is reabsorbed to produce concentrated urine. Mechanism of concentration of urine. The flow of filtrate in two limbs of Henle's loop is in opposite direction to form counter current. That's why we say counter current mechanism. The flow of blood in two limbs of vasa recta increase the osmolarity towards the inner medullary interstitium in the inner medulla, like this. So you can see the transport of substance facilitated by special arrangement of Henle's loop and vasa recta is called counter current mechanism. Now you can see here the counter current mechanism. This is PCT, this is DCT, and you can see based on the arrow marks which is going out and which is coming out, that is importance. And the areas also, cortex, this whole thing is in cortex, the extensors are in the outer medulla, and Henle's loop is in inner medulla, and the collecting duct is collecting all the DCTs. Okay, and you can see here the exchange of urea, NaCl, and H2O, okay, K plus, H plus, all this. So the arrow mark towards the tube indicates it's entering inside. The arrow mark that's coming out is going out of the nephron. This is how the counter current mechanism will be maintained. Draw the diagram, you will understand that counter current mechanism is helpful in retaining important ions. So basically it means the fluid flows in opposite direction in the two sides of the loop, as you are seeing, down one side and up the other. It helps to maintain a concentration gradient in the medullary interstitial fluid, which helps in an easy absorption of water from the filtrate present in the collecting duct, so that the concentration of the filtrate is increased. This one, the concentration in the collecting duct is increased. The proximity between the loop of Henle and vasa recta, as well as the counter current in them, help in maintaining an increasing osmolarity towards the inner medullary interstitial fluid. This gradient is mainly caused by NaCl and urea. So you are seeing this NaCl as well as urea. So NaCl as well as urea, that is this portion, NH3, okay, and the ammonia. The NaCl is transported by ascending loop of Henle, which is exchanged with the descending limb of vasa recta. NaCl is returned to the medullary interstitial fluid by ascending portion of vasa recta. So as you are seeing here, okay, and similarly small amounts of urea enter the thin segment of the ascending limb of loop of Henle, which is transported back to the medullary interstitial fluid by collecting duct, this portion. So this is how